America has always been a fascist country. We're fighting fascistic tendencies in the United States.
It feels almost like a dictatorship.
Since you hate America, here's a one-way ticket out.
Not coming back.
We're here at Harvard asking students how they feel about America and if they would revoke their citizenship and take a one-way ticket to leave and never return.
So let's start with, what do you think of your country?
It's been getting really crazy.
America has always been a fascist country.
It feels almost like a dictatorship in some ways.
And also with the ICE thing, goddamn, there's so much more going on with America.
Our civil rights were revoked.
I don't know if we'll survive Trump's presidency, man.
You think America is a fascist country?
A lot of people would say that.
Why do you think it's fascist?
A lot of people feel like they cannot exercise their freedom of speech or freedom of religious practice or expression.
If you critique the government, if you speak out, there's a chance the president will tweet about you and attempt to harass you.
You still have these checks and balances and systems, yet people still think it's not a democracy. Why is that?
With our current president, those checks and balances have been violated in some ways. Like, it makes me feel uneasy.
What is the number one thing that you guys would change in your country immediately without even thinking twice about it?
Immigration laws.
You guys want to expand on that?
I just think it's really inhumane what is going on right now in this world.
This is stolen land already, and if you're going to make arguments about people that are and aren't allowed to be here, I don't think it holds any value. And
You think it's a stolen land?
I think that
the first thing I would do is remove our...
I don't know how grown-ups, because these people are grown-up, okay? I don't know how grown-ups can actually sit and have those opinions and believe that those opinions are valid. The only way you can believe that those opinions are valid is if you sit in a circle of people who think the exact same way, and then if anyone attempts to have a divergent thought process, you kick them out, because no one in the real world actually believes this.
Ourselves from foreign conflicts. Even if one dictator's bad, we're hearing one side of the story.
I think the United States has broken international law, undermining the sovereignty of places like Iran and Venezuela.
Do you think the situation is that bad that people would be interested in revoking their citizenship and moving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say you hate America and aren't proud to be a citizen?
Thanks
Yes,
for
of
coming
course.
on.
I mean, yeah.
Is there any country you would rather live?
Copenhagen and
Copenhagen!
I would go to Ireland.
New Zealand.
If we gave you one-way ticket, would you take to leave America and to move to New Zealand? To Ireland, Belfast, I think? Completely move out of the country? Not coming back.
I did just get into Harvard.
Exactly. Look, these people are just hypocrites, okay? They talk a big game about hating America, but once you give them the opportunity to move to another country, they change. They change their minds. You see the complete 180 these guys make as soon as they have an opportunity to make their supposed hatred for America real by leaving.
That's a really hard question.
No, I think by the end of the day, we're still stuck in this together.
I have obligations.
All right.
I got
Awesome.
family here. I
Awesome.
got school here.
All right, fine. We'll take that as a no.
Practically, I think it would probably be a poor idea.
Like, there is still like a lot of good opportunities in America. Born and raised in America. My whole family's here. My whole life is here.
This has been home. This is opportunity. I'll never be able to take that away from, the place that I was born in.
When given a
Do you know what? Okay, so as someone who is currently an immigrant, I lived in Africa for over 40 years. And if I had to sit at a panel like this and they ask me, okay, so what are all the things that are wrong with your country? And I list the things that I believe are wrong with my country. And they say to me, if I gave you and your family a visa, everything paid for, to move to any country of your choice, would you do it? I would say yes. Okay, why? Because I have kids to protect from a system that is actively trying to kill them every single day. So when I watch people who live in the country that every one of us wants to move to, if we're telling ourselves the truth, and they're bashing America, they're saying all these horrible things about the country, and then you give them the opportunity to make their words real, they always act the same way, because deep down they know that they're lying.
a real chance to leave, no one takes it. It's easy to criticize a system you benefit from, but when that system is taken away, the reality becomes a little more complicated.
Why is it that the immigrants love America more than some Americans? I don't think all Americans are this way. It's just that the Americans who hate the country seem to have the biggest microphones. Intergalactic Wrangler says spoiled brats. Yes, they're spoiled brats. These are kids that are going to Harvard. This is happening at Harvard. These kids come from wealthy homes, and they can bash America, talk trash about the country, and still have their privilege and still have their daddy pick up the tab. These are the ones that are screaming tax the rich. These are the ones that are screaming all the insane, that are supporting all the insane policies and are voting for socialists. It's them. Yeah, so once you get them to make it real, they always turn and run. All right, so let's watch this video. This is a congressional hearing, and essentially, we have Ted Cruz. We have Ted Cruz and Mazie Hirono essentially decide to go at it over racial gerrymandering.
Case, and they never did.
Yeah, sorry. I like to read the chat. Okay, so Intergalactic Wrangler says we have our problems, but still the greatest country in the world. Can someone tell me that America isn't the greatest country in the world and prove it? Okay, prove me wrong. All right, we're leaving. I'm an immigrant and I can speak. If you guys feel like you're going to be called a bigot or white supremacist for saying so, okay, I'll say it for you. America is the greatest country in the world. Okay. Now, someone should come and prove me wrong. And many people who claim that America isn't the greatest country in the world haven't lived in a third world country as third world citizens for a second. They have no clue what other countries are like. All right, let's watch this video. Let me know what you think.
Thank you, Mr. Grum. I see my time's expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Hirono.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's absolutely no question that racial discrimination existed in our country, and in many places, people would argue that it still does. And so we had all kinds of ways to keep black people from voting. We had poll taxes, we had
Democrats.
literacy tests, we had,
Democrats.
I think they, some places even required them to count how many jelly beans were in a jar.
Democrats.
All kinds of ways to keep black people from voting. This happened. I don't think anybody can deny that was going on. And as far as I'm concerned, there is a pattern now.
We don't deny that it was happening. Okay. What we have a problem with is Democrats acting like they were the ones who were doing all of this.
Of voter suppression going on in our country right now. And the Calais decision just plays into that by pretty much gutting the Voting Rights Act, which, by the way, was reaffirmed many times in a bipartisan way in acknowledging that this kind of racial discrimination occurred, and that as a democratic country where everybody has an equal...
Look, I don't trust anyone who talks as fast as she does. Anyone who talks fast, even if they're conservative, I don't trust them. Because people who talk fast don't give you time to actually understand what they're trying to say. And many of them, maybe not all of them, but many of them are counting on you not keeping up with what they're putting out there because they want to confuse you. They want to put out so much fact that you get confused, and then they can win the argument. So when you see these Democrats talking fast and talking over you, they clearly don't want to have a reasonable conversation.
vote, that's not...
Oh yeah, I don't think she ever read a book. Exactly. I don't think she ever read a book. She's essentially self-owning. She's listing all the things that Democrats did. And it's like, okay, so because you're saying it, you want us to assume that it's the Republicans who did it, okay? And she just doesn't get it. And that's why I think that one of the biggest things that the Trump administration and Republicans can do for America is to return the educational system to the heights that it was at in the early 1900s. I'm not even going to the the educational system was destroyed by the 1960s. Okay, it got really bad from the 1960s downwards. So let's aim for for the early 1900s. That was when the educational system was at its prime. Okay, so because they are counting on the citizens to be stupid, too ignorant, too stupid to know that what they're saying isn't true.
Tolerable, but suddenly it's a-okay just because the Supreme Court says so. No, it's not the entire Supreme Court. It's a 63 majority, which I consider to be basically an out of control Supreme Court majority where there is a pattern of this kind of decisions out of this court. So just because this court says so doesn't mean I agree with them. So meanwhile, there is voter suppression going on. You have an attorney general who sued at least 29 states to get these states to turn over their voter rolls. Why? What does the Department of Justice, what does the executive branch want to do with all this voter information? Up to no good, I would say. There's this huge push to pass the SAVE Act. It's more Save Trump Act. And what does that act do? It would require millions and millions, all of us who are registered to vote, suddenly we will have to show proof of citizenship, either through a birth certificate or a passport. Millions of people don't have either. Married people who take their partner's name will not have a name that matches their birth certificate. So what are they going to do? There are going to be millions of people who are not even going to register to vote. And you think Trump doesn't know that? Of course he does. That's why he wants the SAVE Act to be enacted. That's why the Republicans would like to see the SAVE Act enacted, because they know that millions of people will be literally disenfranchised by not even being able to allow to vote. And then with this regime, once you do vote, they will challenge your vote as they did in the last elections. So voter suppression is going on. It's very reminiscent to the kind of stuff that was going on that the Voting Rights Act was intended to address, to fix. And now you have a Supreme Court that says, oh, never mind all of that, never mind all of that history. And over 3 cases, they succeeded in gutting the Voting Rights Act. And don't tell me that the provisions of the Voting Rights Act still exist in a way that is pretty much unenforceable, because the racial gerrymandering is going to be okay unless the legislative body that does the gerrymandering says, oh, by the way, we intend to racially discriminate. Are you crazy? You think that state legislators are going to be that overt about it? Of course not. So you have a Voting Rights Act that you claim is still intact. Please, give me a break. I have a question for Mr. Cox. Last weekend, thousands of people, and apparently you were among them, gathered to protest the Supreme Court's gutting of the Voting Rights Act. The central locations for these protests were Montgomery and Selma, Alabama, and both significant sites in American civil rights history. Mr. Cox, can you put this current moment into historical context for us? For instance, why is this moment reminiscent of when the last Congressman, John Lewis, who many of us consider a friend and hero, led over 600 peaceful protesters across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama?
Sometimes I wish I could just watch movies with you guys and just do movie reviews, because watching this degree of stupidity and hypocrisy is just infuriating. Okay, so what does this have to do with the fact that millions of illegals were brought into the country? They were allowed to break into the country, and the administration is trying to make sure that the elections are preserved or protected, so that illegal aliens aren't voting. Democrats have been claiming for months or years that illegals haven't been voting, and yet video upon videos have been released showing that illegals are being arrested for voting at state levels and district levels. And it's crazy that they can sit here with a straight face and pretend like none of that is happening. It's just infuriating. And then now, she's trying to kind of set an exam for this this cabinet member to respond to. What does this have to do with the fact that you guys want to essentially destroy the country by letting illegals, millions of illegals, vote? It makes no sense. But hey, that's what they've turned the Congress into.
Thank you, Senator Hirono, for that question. I think it's reminiscent and reflects the fact that the Voting Rights Act was not given to us. It was not bestowed on us. It really came from the people. And the joke I'm sort of making is that Justice O'Connor used to say there were more lawyers in D.C. than people. I think we sometimes feel that way in D.C. We're on the Hill. Lawyers are at the center of the universe, and that's just not true. If we're going to climb out of this destruction of the Voting Rights Act, the penultimate destruction of our democracy, it's going to require the people. And quite frankly, we're being gaslit. We have a Supreme Court, we have allies of the Supreme Court and allies of the Calais case saying discrimination is over. Obviously not true. We have folks on the ground showing and discussing with us that law enforcement are at the polling places. We have folks not only...
Yeah, if you guys didn't let millions of illegals come into the country and openly say that you wanted to have them voting during elections, Karen Bass just yesterday or the day before said that that she's open to considering illegals voting in America's elections. You have leftist students on campuses claiming that illegals who broke into the country have as much right to vote in elections. You guys are insane. Okay, you guys are insane. And yeah, you wear a suit and speak properly and intelligently, but you guys are just insane, dishonest, hypocritical, and Intergalactic Wrangler says if the left gets power again, it will be bad. Look, it's, I don't know what to say, guys. Like, I would rather just turn this off and let's just watch some movie reviews because I don't know what to do. Just tell me how you feel when you listen to people like this just talk and just pretend like all of us are just stupid.
Confused, but being discriminated against right now. And I have to say that to ignore the fact that the people are demanding that Congress respond, that Congress restore the effects test that has been gutted and taken out by Calais would be a mistake, because folks understand and know what is happening outside in the real world. And they know, particularly black voters know, that they aren't going to return to the 1800s and what we all experienced, or our ancestors experienced, that led us to the Voting Rights Act in the first place.
Yeah, your ancestors experienced under the Democrat Party, whom you're currently shilling for. Like I said, insanity.
There is so much more to say, but I fear my time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would point out that my colleague from Hawaii questions whether or not people would be overtly discriminatory in the words that they would say. I will just point out to the California map maker who said the number one thing he was focused on was creating a racially gerrymandered district. So people do say it.
Yes.
Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a moment ago, our colleague Senator Hirono said there's a lot more to say, and indeed she's right. And in fact, I want to go back to her comments. She began by saying we have a long history of racial discrimination in this country. That's undoubtedly correct. And then she said, quote, we had poll taxes, we had literacy tests, we even had tests of how many jelly beans are in a jar. Mr. Chamberlain, when Senator Hirono says we had poll taxes, I want to ask you who we is, and in particular, what party was it that implemented poll taxes in the South?
I don't want to necessarily speak in every single case, but I'm pretty confident it was mostly the Democrats.
Oh, yeah.
And what party was it that put literacy tests in place in the South?
Democrats.
Same answer, mostly the Democrats.
And what party was it that had tests like how many jelly beans are in a bottle?
The Democrats.
Tell me, what party were the founders of Ku Klux Klan from?
I'm pretty sure that was the Democrats.
Indeed. In fact, Nathan Bedford Forrest, the founder of the Klan, was a delegate to the 1860 Democrat National Convention. What party wrote the Jim Crow laws in the South?
Democrats.
The Democrats. And so on this side of the aisle were members of the Republican Party. Who was the first Republican president?
Abraham Lincoln.
The Republican Party was literally founded to oppose slavery.
Yep.
We came into existence because slavery was a grotesque evil, and it was President Lincoln, the first Republican president, who signed the Emancipation Proclamation, who won the Civil War, and that resulted in the freeing of the slaves and the passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. By the way, fast forward to the Civil Rights era. Bull Connor, one of the most noxiously racist politicians. What party was he from?
He was a Democrat.
The Democrats, for the entire history of their party, have been a party based on racial discrimination. They affirmatively embrace it. They support it. Let me ask you, Mr. Grime, is discriminating based on race consistent with the United States Constitution?
No.
What does the 14th Amendment say about discrimination based on race?
Well, it's prohibited.
What does the 15th Amendment say about discriminating based on race, and in particular drawing congressional lines and explicitly discriminating based on race?
It's prohibited.
Now, the Democrats are fond of telling this story that is, and I wish I could find a kinder way to say it, a flat-out lie. That without discriminating based on race, that...
Look, I am loving this, and I shouldn't have done any commentary. I should have just let the video play all the way through, but YouTube doesn't like that. So I have to add some commentary to transform the video, but man, I'm loving this. Wow.
No African Americans will be elected, and no Hispanics will be elected. Indeed, there was one fellow online who was a vocal left-wing spokesperson who tweeted out, "If I'm advising anybody to run for president, they sure as hell better have a solution to how you make sure that it's not another 100 years before another black person can represent South Carolina." So that's a typical Democrat statement.
Yep.
That we cannot elect a black person in South Carolina without discriminating based on race. I want to ask you, Mr. Chamberlain, who is the junior senator from South Carolina right now?
That would be Tim Scott.
And
he's
all
black.
right, I'll tell you what I said online. I said, "Hey, Grok, who is Tim Scott? And why do Democrats think he isn't black?" And by the way, was Tim Scott elected because of a gerrymandered district drawn only to elect an African American?
Oh my goodness.
No, he won statewide.
He won statewide. By the way, the Democrat position is you can only elect African Americans with a gerrymandered district. I will point out Burgess Owens, an African American, is elected in a majority white district in the state of Utah. He's a Republican.
Yep.
Byron Donalds, another African American, is elected in a majority white district in Florida. He is a Republican. John James, another African American, is elected in a majority white district in Michigan. He is a Republican. And my own congressman, Wesley Hunt, who represents me in the House of Representatives, he is elected in a majority white district. He is a Republican. And yet, in the Democrats' world, you're not black if you're not a liberal Democrat. There is an arrogance to African American voters. By the way, they also have that same arrogance to Hispanic voters. They say you're not Hispanic if you're not a liberal Democrat. Well, I'll tell you, I am proud to be the first Hispanic ever elected to represent the state of Texas in the United States Senate. And Mr. Chamberlain, in my election in Texas, was I elected in a gerrymandered district that could only elect an Hispanic?
No, you were elected statewide.
Discrimination based on race is wrong.
I love this, guys. I love it so much. I love it so much because these guys live in a fantasy world where whatever they say is what's happening, no matter what's going on in the real world. They live in a fantasy. And I love the fact that Ted Cruz is just laying out the facts. Intergalactic Wrangler says, I use Grok a lot. It cut me off voice chat unless I upgrade. Well, yeah, they're trying to run a business. Okay. Look, it's crazy. Like, all of this information is readily available. Just do a search or just do an AI query and you get the results. Mr. Will is so clean cut and speaks well. Of course, that's how you conduct yourself at the Capitol, not like Jasmine Crockett.
Final question. The Democrats are now clutching their pearls that seats drawn to elect liberal Democrats in the South are going to go away. You may get black Republicans instead. Indeed, in Tennessee, they're freaking out that a liberal white guy who's a Democrat is likely going to lose his seat to an African-American woman who's a Republican, and they say that's horrible racial oppression. My final question is this. If you look nationwide, which party has egregiously abused gerrymandering for decades? Both parties are guilty of it, but who has been the worst offender? And in particular, take New England. Take Massachusetts, take Connecticut, take Rhode Island, take Maine, take Vermont, take New Hampshire. How many Republicans are elected from all of New England in the House of Representatives?
I think the answer to that is zero.
Zero. They've drawn every district in a naked gerrymander, and yet they're very upset that their illegal pursuit of power has now been stopped by the Supreme Court that is enforcing the Constitution and prohibiting the racial gerrymandering and discrimination their party is built on.
Senator Padilla.
Mr. Chairman, part of personal privilege.
Sure.
I feel personally aggrieved to sit here and to be lectured by my colleague from Texas.
She just opened up this debate with, I think it was almost a 5-minute lecture of lies, and then now that she's being given the facts, she's about to have a meltdown. Oh, I feel aggrieved. I feel offended. Oh, goodness.
And this reminds me of the time when he was first elected to the Senate, and the Judiciary Committee had a hearing on gun safety, and he felt a need to lecture Dianne Feinstein, who was a leader on gun safety legislation, and he took that opportunity to lecture Dianne Feinstein about gun safety and her leadership on the issue. And she said to him something along the lines of, I did not sit here on this committee for however many years she did, only to be lectured by you, and that is how I feel. So why don't you just stop lecturing the rest of us? Just because you think you are the smartest person in the world doesn't mean the rest of us agree to that.
He is actually in the room right now.
Senator Hirono, I knew
Senator.
Dianne Feinstein. I served with Dianne Feinstein, and you're not Dianne Feinstein.
All right, Senator Padilla. We're done. Senator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, two quick points before I get to.
Okay, that's the end of the video, guys. I loved this video. Okay, I love this video. I can't add to it. I can't take away from it. All I can do is read the chat. Okay. Intergalactic Wrangler says, gaslit education is why these people act this way. No real education, simple stuff. Look, if you're educated and you watch these clowns, you get offended because they are literally killing your brain cells. This woman, she may be a lovely woman too. She may be a lovely grandma to her grandkids if she has grandkids or has kids. Okay. But she might be telling her grandkids, turn the TV off tonight because I'm about to do something stupid. Okay, because she just spent this entire conversation showing how ignorant she is. Aggrieved, WTF. Look, all they have is offense. Okay, they try to shut down conversation by telling you how offended they are. And if you refuse to step down, you're a bigot, you're a bully. Oh, come, look. Anyway, look, I love this conversation. Now let's watch another video. I have another video that I'd like us to watch. And I found this last night after the live stream. Is Islam compatible with the West? Okay, so Let me know what you think about this video.
Is to take part, is here to take over. Look at their prophet, he was a pedophile.
I would argue that Islam is the West.
We're outside the UCL University and we are debating, is Islam compatible with the West? Let's talk. So do you think Islam is compatible with the West?
Yeah, generally, broadly.
It's the opposite. Well, the West isn't compatible with Islam.
Islam is like the perfect religion, but the execution may not be there.
No, it's that simple.
Ideology isn't compatible with the West.
But that's not to say every single Muslim is bad. We're not talking about Muslims as people. We're talking about Islam as an ideology.
When we talk about like Sharia law, Islam does not enforce any of its laws on non-Muslims.
It definitely does. That's wrong. It definitely does.
And the teaching of Islam in the Quran, which they believe is the literal word of God, perfect for all time, that shouldn't be reformed. It literally commands to terrorize and kill the infidels, kill the Jews and the Christians.
Exactly.
When you see all these actions like Hamas, ISIS, and people say, oh, it's only radical extremism. No, that's literally what the Islamic text teaches.
The reason why I don't think Islam is compatible with the West, first reason is that Islam is a very political religion. Muslims have a responsibility to Islamize the whole world. It's not here just to be spiritual, it's here to govern.
I feel like most Muslims aren't extremists.
I know, I agree with you. I don't think most Muslims.
Yeah, you're right, Intergalactic Wrangler. Islam is a political, religious position. The thing that bothers me is how Christianity was systematically pushed out of government. And then guess what they replaced Christianity with? The religion of climate change. And then the religion of wokeism. Then the religion of sexual deviancy. Call it whatever you want. You call it transgender, alternative sexual lifestyles. It's a religion, okay? And then they also brought in all these other things, okay, to replace Christianity. And now Islam, because now people who are being sworn into government in a Christian nation are insisting that they be sworn in with the Quran. Personally, I take offense at that. Okay, so since we're playing the oppression and offense Olympics, let's join in the oppression or offense Olympics. We are offended that a country that was founded on Christian values, where officials were sworn in with the Bible, is suddenly being forced to accommodate other religions, where in their own countries they won't even let you get sworn in. In fact, they won't even give you a post if you're not a Muslim. Okay, so this is suicidal empathy, okay, on full display. And the West is mostly Christians, or was. Now they are killing them, summoning demons and turning kids into jerky. That is true. Okay, let's keep watching. I'll read the rest of the chat. If you're watching and you want to add your voice to the conversation, just post your thoughts in the chat.
Are extremists.
It's good to make the distinction between Islamism, which is very much an extremist ideology, and Islam. The problem is with Islamism is that it's an ideology that wants to expand. Unfortunately, they've been quite successful, because what I've noticed in the West is that there's a growing sense of leftist Islamism. These people will go and see 40,000 Iranians slaughtered in the streets of Iran, not bat an eye, but whenever it comes to Israel and the US, that's when they decide to speak.
100%, and I think the prime example of that is Sadiq Khan in the UK, London, and also Mamdani in New York. And I think it's always the unholy marriage of Islamism and wokeism. So they're like, yeah, we all care about equality and we want to be equal, and yeah, Muslims are the minority, the persecuted, we don't want to be Islamophobic, which is all well. But I believe I'm a free speech absolutist, and I think there's no idea that's beyond criticism. And Islam, some part of it is a bad idea. Now, that's not to say that Muslims can't live in the West, because they can. But Islam as an ideology, as you said, it goes against the core tenets of the Judeo-Christian values. You know, you look at the life of Muhammad, you know, he killed thousands of people, told his soldiers that the spoils of war are permissible, so the women that you get in war are permissible.
Muhammad said that?
Yes. And he said, you know, you can have unlimited temporary wives. Islam is not compatible with the West. But then again, we also have to give the conversation nuance, because I think that Muhammad was actually a progressive for his times. During his time, you know, people used to kill their daughters at birth, and then he came and stopped that. I salute Muhammad for what he done back then. But then 1,400 years later, you can't be living by those rules.
Their prophet, he was a paedophile. He raped a 9-year-old girl. It says it in the hadith. He was a warlord. If Epstein started a religion, and we're there saying, oh, well, it's literally just apologism for paedophilia. Why would we play Russian roulette with our civilization?
You know, if we take the IRGC in Iran, it's very much an example of that. They do not care about Iranian culture, Iranian values. That's second to them.
It's completely true. I agree with you, actually, because I'm Iranian, and they weren't even allowing us to speak our own language, which was Persian, Farsi. They forced us to speak Arabic, yeah? Islam was never a choice for Iranians when the Arabs conquered us. They beheaded us, they killed us, they slaughtered us, they raped our women. It happened to many other countries in the Middle East and also in North Africa.
Yeah, no, it's making me want to learn more and read up more.
Where are you from?
Erupt.
Iran, okay. You should get this in.
The Iranian, we are not the Islamic phobia. We are the Islamic trauma. We have a lot of the trauma about the Islamic Republic.
Isn't it so funny that people that were not born in Iran, they were not born in Palestine, they haven't lived under extremism and Islamism, people like him are defending terrorists.
Yeah.
And they think they are on the right side of history, but they don't know anything.
It is crazy, but you know, look, I'm okay, so let me just read the chat. Okay, I'm just going to read the chat. Intergalactic Wrangler says, I think Epstein was involved with these people. Well, I guess. Intergalactic Wrangler says, can't trust these rich people. And then Intergalactic Wrangler says, you can come. Okay, so the first chat about Epstein referred to the Democrats, okay, because we played a video about a hearing in Congress where Ted Cruz essentially eviscerated a Democrat, okay. You can rewind the video to catch that. It was epic. You can come here, but adapt and don't push your ideology. I came to North America because I was escaping the insanity of the third world country I come from. I didn't come here to drag that culture and ideology to begin to enforce it here to destroy this lifeboat. North America is a lifeboat for immigrants. Okay. When your country is destroyed beyond repair, this is what North America and the West is a lifeboat. But many of these guys want to destroy the lifeboat. And you know what? We shouldn't let them. We should not let them. Okay. Look, anyone that leaves their country and comes over here and tries to make the country become the country they came from needs to go back. If you love that country so much, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Like, I'm so passionate about it that even down to the food, okay, I didn't leave Africa to come here and begin to complain about the food here. If I love the food in Africa so much, then I'll go back. Okay, I came here because of the freedoms, because of the advantage it gives my kids. That's why I came here. That's why I literally uprooted my life after living in Africa for over 46 years. Moved over here, moved my family and my kids here so that they could have opportunities that I never had growing up. I didn't come here to change North America to look like the country I fled from. So it's infuriating for most of us immigrants who came for the right reasons, seeing this insanity play out. Do it legally, okay? Come legally. That's what Intergalactic Wrangler is saying. And Intergalactic Wrangler says, you come here and you should learn English. I agree. I agree. You should take an English test. You should be more than competent at communicating in English. And you should, look, one of the things that you would find with old immigrants from the Jewish state, from Scandinavia is that when they moved to the United States back in the 17 and 1800s, within one generation, the family had basically started speaking English. They rarely continued to propagate the languages they spoke in their homeland. That is how you integrate. Okay, that's how you integrate. Most of these people who come are like, they come with cultures that are not compatible with the United States. And you know, I don't want to look like someone who climbed up a ladder and then pulled up the ladder after him. If there's anyone who's coming for the right reasons, okay, they should come in legally. They should come the right way. And when they arrive, they should integrate, they should assimilate, they should become Americans. Okay, if you're coming to America, your intention is to become an American, not to bring the culture and the lives that or the things that destroyed your country. You're dragging it along with you. You're dragging that disease along with you to infect and destroy America. I don't subscribe to that. All right, guys. I'm gonna keep tonight's show short. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you came in late, we covered the main story. It was epic. We loved it. We laughed. We screamed. I screamed. So we're gonna be back again tomorrow, and we're gonna find another epic video to watch. I'm coming up with a few new adjustments to the show. And I would like us, to hang out more and just have fun and talk about these ideas. If you're watching after the fact, please leave a comment. If you're watching live and you can't get your comments, your thoughts in the chat, leave a comment, and I'll read and respond. And we'll be back tomorrow. And like I said yesterday, I'm going to try to make our live streams earlier. So I'm going to see how I can move it closer and closer to 9 p.m. Eastern, possibly 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to try to make it earlier. Now, thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye, and God bless you.